It is Monday, April 12th here at Draft Shark Studios in Rochester, New York. Welcome to the 26th Quick Hit Pod in our Dynasty Prospect Scouting Report series. I'm your host, Matt Schauf. With me, as always, is Jared Smola. You can now find 33 rookie scouting profiles on DraftSharks.com. Every single one of those is free to read. They will keep on coming right up until the NFL draft. You can check out all of these accompanying podcasts by subscribing to the Draft Sharks YouTube channel, as well as any of our podcast feeds. Our focus today is on USC wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, not to be confused with Mum-Ra from Thundercats, though. Jared, give me some background on the Egyptian sun god.
Yeah, the Egyptian sun god, the brother of Equanimous St. Brown, who, of course, has done nearly nothing for the Packers over the past couple of years. Amon-Ra was a big-time prospect coming out of high school, though, a five-star recruit, the number 2 wide receiver prospect in the 2018 class. And that was following a huge senior season in high school, 72 catches, over 1,300 yards and 20 touchdowns, really carried that momentum into his freshman season at USC. He led the team with 60 catches. He became just the 4th true freshman at USC to lead the team in catches, joining Mike Williams, Dwayne Jarrett, and Robert Woods. And that team had Michael Pittman on it, who was a junior at that time, the eventual 34th overall pick of last year's draft of the Colts. So Amon-Ra beat Pittman in catches, trailed them by just 8 in receiving yards, 750 receiving yards for St. Brown that year, 3 touchdowns. He accounted for 25% of USC's receptions, 25% of the receiving yards, 17% of the receiving touchdowns. So strong marks for a freshman. He kind of tailed off a bit the past 2 seasons, though. His raw numbers climbed in 2019 as a sophomore, 77 catches, 1,042 receiving yards, 6 receiving touchdowns, but the market share has dipped. That was a much stronger USC passing game. St. Brown accounted for 21% of the catches, 24% of the receiving yards, 17% of the receiving touchdowns. Michael Pittman led that team in all categories. He was a senior at that time. But St. Brown also finished with just similar numbers to Tyler Vaughn's, who decided not to declare for the NFL draft after his redshirt junior season this past year. So, not a guy the NFL is evidently too high on. This past year, St. Brown led USC with 41 catches and 7 receiving scores in an abbreviated 6-game season due to, the COVID stuff. But sophomore wide receiver Drake Jordan actually edged St. Brown in yardage. He had 502 yards to St. Brown's 478. And again, St. Brown's market shares were kind of just mediocre. 23% of the catches, 25% of the receiving yards, did account for 42% of the receiving touchdowns, a career high there.
Yeah, I think all that is, again, another one of those ways in which the market shares are important, because you can look at the numbers and say, oh, he got better as a sophomore, but when you put it in context, didn't actually from the statistical side. I think the life story here is much more interesting than the on-field stuff, though. The third of the St. Brown sons following, as you mentioned, Equanimous, who, of course, is a Green Bay Packer. Osiris was the second one. He was a 4-star wide receiver recruit himself. He's heading into his senior year at Stanford, it looks like right now. Their dad, bodybuilder John Brown, a 3-time Mr. World, 2-time Mr. Universe. So I've been looking into John Brown and the family since, we got down this path and I knew Amon-Ra was coming up. John Brown picked out his wife, at least in part, because he quote, knew she would give me the kids I wanted. He added Saint to the last name in the moment of filling out the birth certificate for Equanimous, who was son number 1. He told Bleacher Report in 2018, quote, I thought it would look cool on the back of a jersey. It seems like he would be just a fascinating guy to talk to. Amon-Ra and the family speak at least German, French, and English. The mom is German, spoke full German to them. They went to school in Europe. I mean, I recommend that anybody who's at all interested just Google for more of the backstory, because it's fun to read, though. For now, I'll stop, Jared, and I'll let you tell us what you saw from the sun god on the field.
You can keep going, because I wasn't that impressed or excited by Amon-Ra's tape, so I don't have a whole lot to gush about here. He is good in contested situations. He has a nice vertical, which he displayed at his pro day, 38.5-inch vertical, 84th percentile mark for wide receivers. Has a good feel and timing on jump ball, so he's good there. The problem is he has to make a ton of contested catches because he doesn't create separation. There's not a whole lot of suddenness or burst to his game. So he's always working in traffic. He does play more athletically after the catch, I think, than before. He's pretty good picking up yak. He's a tackle breaker. He has some shiftiness to him after the catch. The other thing I noticed too is just, I don't know if I want to say bad hands. I wrote lazy hands because he drops a lot of easy balls. He had 5 drops in the 5 games that I watched. So that's something he's going to have to clean up at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I think he looks solid. There's some nice run after the catch stuff, as you mentioned. Not spectacular from a size, speed, or athleticism standpoint, although I don't think he presents poorly in those areas either. It was kind of tough for me looking around for a comp for Amon-Ra St. Brown because, you find somebody, it's like, yeah, he's kind of like him, but that guy was more of a downfield threat. This guy averaged more yards per catch. I landed on Deshaun Hamilton, I think, as kind of like a comp for expectations here. Just like St. Brown, Hamilton had tremendous volume his freshman year at Penn State, and then he didn't really progress from there. He wound up getting a little bit overshadowed or at least infringed upon by Chris Godwin and then some by Mike Gesicki at the end of his career. Hamilton, a 4th-round pick by Denver in 2018. He pops up occasionally when volume's available, but he's been largely hidden through 3 years in the league, both by poor quarterback play because he's not going to elevate that, and then also by better talent at the position when that became available. And I think that, to me, is what makes Hamilton a solid comp for what to expect from St. Brown.
Yeah, maybe it's because I did their scouting reports back-to-back, but I actually think Tylan Wallace and St. Brown's games are similar. They're similar size. They both play a bit bigger than they are with that contested catch ability. Neither guy creates a ton of separation. They're both, again, they play bigger after the catch, I think, tackle breaking wise. Now, Wallace has a more impressive college production profile, so I definitely prefer him heading into the draft here. But I think they're similar in the ways they play. St. Brown, I'm worried the contested stuff isn't going to translate to the next level when he's going to be facing bigger, better cornerbacks. And if he didn't create a ton of separation in college, I don't think he's going to do so in the NFL. So, yeah, I'm not super excited about him. Also, some medical stuff to keep an eye on with him. He had a hand injury as a high school senior. He sprained the AC joint in his shoulder in both 2018 and 2020, and he needed sports hernia surgery after the 2019 season. So he's dealt with a bunch of injuries already.
Yeah, none of those individual injuries all that concerning, but we'll see if it makes him fall draft weekend. Ultimately, I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is fine. If he lands in a great spot, I could maybe see him climbing into the second half of round 3 for rookie drafts. I think more likely is more of a round 4 prospect. And then we'll just kind of see what the landing spot is. It doesn't seem like there's really anybody out there that's excited about him. So I don't think you have to worry about combating other people's opinion of St. Brown. We're all just kind of waiting to see where he lands and if he's worth really any attention.
Yeah, could be a fine number 3 receiver for his NFL team. I don't see him being a difference maker in fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Head over to DraftSharks.com now. You can read Jared's full scouting report on Amon-Ra St. Brown. While you're there, check out the 32 other prospect scouting reports we've already posted. Check back for more to come right up until the NFL draft. As I mentioned, all of those are free to read. You should lock in your DS Insider access, though. That way you can see where all these guys sit in our dynasty rankings, where they end up landing in our rookie rankings. You can check out the 2021 redraft projections and MVP draft board. That's all ready to go, ready to help you draft. You can also find us on Twitter. We are at Draft Sharks. Jared is at SmolaDS. I am at SchaufDS. It's SCHAUF. For Jared Smol and the rest of the Draft Sharks crew, I'm Matt Schauf saying thanks so much for swimming with us.